We've been hearing from Bhusunda the crow how he survives cosmic dissolution. And this might seem like a good thing, being able to survive the fires and storms of the end of the universe. But spiritually it's not such a good thing, because we need this dissolution before we can attain liberation. And Vasishta is doing an inquiry into how come Bhusunda managed to survive cosmic dissolution. It's almost as if Vasishta here is pursuing his own self-enquiry and looking at these very subtle elements. He's looking at these very subtle elements which somehow persist. And Bhusunda gave a description of how he survived. And it's almost, you could almost imagine a crow jumping from one branch to another. As the heat came, he contemplated water. When the wind blows, he contemplated being a mountain. And when the floods came, he contemplated the wind. So no matter what techniques are being used to dissolve the ego very easily sidesteps these techniques and carries on existing at a very subtle level, perhaps somehow managing to convince itself that it's actually very spiritual. The ego is quite good at convincing itself that it is spiritual, even though the point of spirituality is to remove the ego. Vasishta asked, "Why is it that others are not able to do what you have done?" Bhusunda replied, "O sage, the will of the Supreme Being cannot be transgressed. It is His will that I should be like this, and that the others should be as they are. One cannot fathom nor measure what has to be. In accordance with the nature of each being, that which is to be comes to be. Therefore, in accordance with my thought force or conception, this tree is found in every world cycle at this place in this manner." We should also bear in mind Bhusunda's conception. He was born as the result of an orgy of intoxication and sex. So although my description, my interpretation of Bhusunda might be unflattering, it does seem to have some basis. And Vasishta's inquiry into trying to find the reasons for these very deep-rooted egoistic tendencies surviving, well, it's just as it is. There isn't any reason for it. The ego is intensely subtle. It plays some very subtle games in order to preserve itself, and that's just the way it is. Vasishta asked, "You enjoy such longevity as would suggest that you have attained final liberation, and you are wise, brave, and you are a great yogi. Pray tell me what extraordinary events you remember relating to this and the previous world cycles." So the very subtle aspects of the ego can somehow convince themselves that they are spiritual. You sometimes meet people who are supposedly spiritual with obviously very massive egos. So Vasishta's probing a bit further here, and what we're going to get is a description of different universes.